Banwa, serene and resilient souls. I am Naomi, and from this space where the aroma of freshly brewed tea mingles with the warm memory of my ancestors' teachings, I offer you a very warm and heartfelt welcome to Minimalist Charm. Today, I want to share with you a particularly precious treasure, a legacy of wisdom that I feel resonates with special urgency in our times. The lost lessons of Japanese frugal minimalism, as passed down to me by my grandmother Akiko, for navigating economic uncertainty with grace, ingenuity, and a deep sense of inner peace. I remember my grandmother Akiko not as a woman of great material possessions, but as a master in the art of living well with little. She had lived through times of great scarcity in post-war Japan, and those experiences had forged in her a deep wisdom about the real value of things, an appreciation for sufficiency, and an incredible ability to find beauty and joy in simplicity. I never heard her complain about what she didn't have. Instead, she celebrated what she did have with gratitude, and used it with amazing respect and creativity. Her home was a haven of calm and order, not because of an abundance of objects, but because of the careful selection and loving maintenance of each one. Her pantry was never overflowing with excess, but there was always something delicious and nutritious to share, prepared with humble ingredients, but with a mastery that transformed the simple into the extraordinary. She embodied a minimalism that did not stem from an aesthetic fad, but from a vital necessity and a profound philosophy of life. Today, many of us face growing economic uncertainty, inflation, job instability, rising living costs. These are realities that cause us anxiety and force us to rethink our consumption habits and our relationship with money. We often feel caught between the desire to maintain a certain standard of living and the pressure to reduce spending, which can lead to stress and a feeling of deprivation. But what if, instead of being just a source of worry, this situation were also an opportunity to rediscover a more authentic, sustainable, and paradoxically richer way of life in terms of what truly matters? Japanese frugal minimalism, that legacy of grandmother Akiko, offers us just that. A path to finding security and well-being not in the accumulation of goods, but in the wisdom of living with less but better, with ingenuity, gratitude, and a deep connection to our core values. Today, I want to share with you some of those timeless lessons, so that together we can transform uncertainty into an opportunity for growth and resilience. One of the first and most powerful lessons I learned from my grandmother, and one that is essential in times of economic uncertainty, is the art of distinguishing between real needs and superfluous desires, cultivating a deep appreciation for enoughness. In a consumer society that constantly bombards us with messages urging us to want more, to need the latest, the newest, the biggest, it is easy to lose perspective and fall into a cycle of impulse buying and unnecessary accumulation that, in the long run, only leads to debt and anxiety. My grandmother Akiko, on the other hand, had crystal clear clarity about what was truly essential for a dignified and happy life. Her concept of enough was not synonymous with deprivation, but rather with contentment with what one has, once basic needs are met. This not only allowed her to live serenely in times of scarcity, but also to fully enjoy the small pleasures in life that don't cost money. I think of Isabel, a young graphic designer in Mexico City who felt trapped in a vicious cycle of working long hours to afford the lifestyle she saw on social media, full of designer clothes, dinners at trendy restaurants, and exotic trips. However, despite having many things, she felt constantly dissatisfied and stressed about her finances. The recent economic crisis had hit her hard, and she was faced with the need to drastically reduce her expenses. At first, she felt panic and a sense of failure. As we talked, we explored the idea of applying the philosophy of sufficiency. I suggested that she make an honest list of her true needs: food, shelter, health, some functional clothing, and then honestly assess how many of her usual expenses were driven by desires created by advertising or social pressure. It was a revealing exercise. She discovered that many of the things she thought she needed were actually passing whims that did not bring her lasting happiness. She began to find joy in simpler, free pleasures: walking in her city's beautiful parks, cooking at home with friends, reading books from the library, rediscovering her passion for drawing. "Naomi, it's like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders," she told me. By reducing my needs to the essentials, I've not only relieved my financial stress, but I've gained a freedom and peace I didn't know existed. I've discovered that enough is actually a lot. I invite you to reflect. What are your true needs? How many of your expenses are driven by desire? Can you find joy in sufficiency? This clarity about what is essential naturally leads us to another fundamental practice of Japanese frugal minimalism, mastering the art of conscious budgeting, using tools such as the Kikibo to take control of our finances with intention and wisdom. Kikibo is a traditional Japanese method of keeping a diary of expenses and income, but it is much more than a simple spreadsheet. It is a tool for financial self-awareness that invites us to reflect on our spending habits, set realistic savings goals, and make more conscious decisions about how we spend our money. It's not about depriving ourselves of everything, but about aligning our spending with our values and priorities, ensuring that our money works for us and not the other way around. My grandmother Akiko didn't use a sophisticated app, but she kept a small notebook where she meticulously recorded every yen that came in and out of her house, reflecting on each expense. I met Andres, a young history teacher in Buenos Aires, who, despite having a stable income, always struggled to make ends meet. He didn't know exactly where his money was going, and the feeling of not being in control of his finances caused him great anxiety. I introduced him to the concept of Kikibo. I suggested that for 1 month, he simply write down all his expenses, no matter how small, without judging himself. At the end of the month, when he reviewed his Kikibo, he was surprised to discover how much money he was losing on petty expenses. Takeaway coffees, impulse snacks, subscriptions he hardly ever used. Kikibo not only gave him a clear picture of his spending patterns, but also provided a framework for setting savings goals and redirecting his money toward things he really valued, such as a specialization course or a small trip he had been longing to take. Kikibo has been like a beacon in my financial storm, Naomi, he told me. Now I feel like I'm at the helm of my finances. I've learned to spend more intentionally, save for my dreams, and above all, feel at peace with my money. You don't need complicated tools. A simple notebook and pen, or a spreadsheet if you prefer, can be enough to start practicing mindful budgeting and take control of your financial well-being. Another pillar of frugal minimalism that my grandmother Akiko practiced with mastery is the ingenuity to reuse, repair, and transform objects, applying the spirit of motonai to give them a second, third, or even fourth life. As we mentioned before, motonai is that Japanese expression that laments waste. But it goes beyond simply not throwing things away. It involves creativity and a deep respect for the intrinsic value of the materials and human labor behind each object. In times of scarcity, this ingenuity is not only a virtue but a necessity. And in times of economic uncertainty, it can be a surprising source of savings and personal satisfaction. Think of the art of boro, those Japanese garments patched over and over again with pieces of fabric of different colors and textures, which become true works of textile art, testimonies of resilience and beauty and imperfection. I think of Clara, a young artist from Madrid who was struggling to finance her passion for painting due to the high cost of materials. Inspired by the motonai philosophy and boro techniques, she began to see waste with new eyes. She started collecting pieces of wood from the street to use as canvases, mixing her own pigments with natural materials and reusing old frames. Not only did she drastically reduce her expenses, but she also discovered that this limitation of resources sharpened her creativity, leading her to explore new techniques and develop a much more personal and authentic style. "It's as if motonai has freed me, Naomi," she told me. "Before, I felt limited by what I couldn't buy. Now I find inspiration in what I can salvage and transform. My work has more soul, and my wallet is happier." Are there items in your home that you could repair instead of replacing? Materials you could reuse creatively? Frugal ingenuity not only saves money, but also cultivates creativity and a deeper connection to the material world. This mindset of making the most of what you have also extends to the wisdom of cooking at home with simple, seasonal ingredients, rediscovering the pleasure of nutritious and inexpensive home-cooked meals. Eating out or ordering takeout may be convenient, but it is often expensive and not always the healthiest option. My grandmother Akiko was a wizard in the kitchen, able to create delicious and nutritious feasts from humble seasonal ingredients, many of them from her small garden. She knew the secrets to using every part of a vegetable, to making preserves that would last all winter, and to transforming leftovers into new and surprising dishes. Cooking at home is not only more economical, but it also allows us to control the quality of the ingredients, reduce food waste, and most importantly, enjoy the act of nourishing ourselves and our loved ones. David, a young professional in Lima, Peru who lived alone, had fallen into the habit of eating out or ordering fast food almost every day due to his busy schedule. His health and finances were suffering. I encouraged him to try spending a couple of hours on the weekend planning and preparing some simple meals for the week, to rediscover the pleasure of going to the market, choosing fresh vegetables, experimenting with simple recipes. At first, it seemed like just another task in his already busy life. But she soon discovered the benefits. She was saving a significant amount of money, eating much healthier, and even found cooking to be a relaxing and creative activity. "I can't believe how much money I was spending on junk food, Naomi," she told me. "And the best part is that I feel so much better, with more energy." Cooking at home has become an act of self-care and smart saving. You don't need to be an expert chef. Start with simple recipes, use seasonal ingredients that tend to be cheaper, and enjoy the process of creating your own food. Another invaluable legacy of Japanese frugal wisdom is the art of finding joy and entertainment in simple, low-cost activities, cultivating the richness of experiences over the accumulation of possessions. In our society, we often associate leisure and fun with spending money, shopping, dining at expensive restaurants, attending costly events. However, many of life's most memorable and enriching experiences are free or very inexpensive. My grandmother Akiko found immense joy in walking in nature, gazing at the moon, chatting with her neighbors, reading books from the library, and practicing calligraphy with a simple brush and ink. Her life was filled with small pleasures that did not require large expenditures. I think of Marta and Julian, a young couple in Santiago, Chile, who were frustrated because their limited income prevented them from enjoying the leisure activities they saw their friends doing. They felt they were missing out on life. I suggested they brainstorm free or low-cost activities they could enjoy together or separately, exploring the parks and trails in their city, visiting museums on free admission days, organizing picnics with friends, learning a new skill through online tutorials, exchanging books, having board game nights at home. They discovered a universe of possibilities they had previously overlooked. We realized that we were so focused on what we couldn't afford that we didn't see all the wonderful things that were within our reach, Naomi, Marta told me. Now our weekends are richer and more fun than ever, and we spend a lot less. Creativity and an appreciation for the simple things are the keys to truly satisfying and sustainable leisure. Finally, a crucial lesson that emerges from Japanese frugal minimalism, and one that is especially relevant in times of uncertainty, is the importance of cultivating inner resilience and a mindset of gratitude, finding peace and security not in external circumstances, but in our own strength and ability to adapt. Life inevitably presents us with challenges and difficult moments. The economy fluctuates, jobs can be lost, plans can fall apart. If our sense of security and well-being depends solely on external and material factors, we will be perpetually vulnerable. My grandmother Akiko, despite having lived through very difficult experiences, radiated a calmness and inner strength that did not come from material wealth, but from her deep faith in her own ability to adapt, to find creative solutions, and to appreciate the blessings present, even in the midst of adversity. She practiced what is known in Japan as gammon, the ability to persevere with dignity and patience in the face of difficulties. Fernando, a small business owner in Barcelona, saw his business falter due to the economic crisis. He was overwhelmed by fear and uncertainty, and his health began to suffer. Through our conversations, he began to explore practices to strengthen his inner resilience, meditation to calm his anxious mind, physical exercise to release stress, and a gratitude journal to focus on the positive things he still had in his life, despite the difficulties. He also connected with other entrepreneurs in similar situations, creating a network of mutual support. "I won't deny that it's been a very tough period, Naomi," she confessed to me, "but I've discovered a strength in myself that I didn't know I had. I've learned to be more flexible, more creative, and to value the things that really matter: my health, my family, my friends. The crisis has taken a lot from me materially, but it has enriched me spiritually." In times of uncertainty, our greatest wealth is our ability to adapt, our inner peace, and our gratitude for the simple gift of life. My dear friends, Grandmother Akiko's legacy, that frugal and wise minimalism born of experience and a deep connection to essential values, is a beacon of light in our times of economic uncertainty. It teaches us that true security is not found in the accumulation of possessions, but in the wisdom of living with less but better, with ingenuity, gratitude, and a deep respect for the resources that life offers us. It invites us to simplify our needs, to take control of our finances with awareness, to value and care for what we have, to find joy in the simple things, and to cultivate an inner resilience that allows us to navigate any storm with grace and strength. By embracing these lost lessons, we not only ease the pressure on our wallets and our planet, but we also discover a more authentic, more meaningful, and paradoxically, much more abundant way of life in terms of what truly nourishes the soul. We discover that frugality is not synonymous with deprivation, but with freedom. Freedom from debt, freedom from consumer anxiety, freedom to focus on what truly makes us happy. As a beautiful Japanese proverb that my grandmother Akiko used to repeat while carefully mending a garment or making use of every last crumb of bread says, "Tarwoji ruje hafumu, taru oshiru mono watomu." This roughly translates as, "Those who know sufficiency are rich." May we all learn to know and celebrate the richness of sufficiency, finding in it the key to a full, peaceful, and truly prosperous life, regardless of external circumstances. I sincerely hope that these lessons in Japanese frugal minimalism, inspired by the legacy of my grandmother Akiko, have offered you comfort, inspiration, and practical tools to navigate these times with greater confidence and wisdom. If these ideas have resonated deeply with you, I warmly invite you to join our community here at Encanto Minimalista. Subscribe to the channel to continue exploring these paths of simplicity, resilience, and holistic well-being together. And if this message has brought you a ray of hope, a new perspective, or an impetus for positive change, please give us a like. Your support helps us immensely to bring these seeds of practical wisdom to more hearts that may be seeking an anchor amid uncertainty. Now, as always, I would love to read your thoughts, stories, and reflections. Comment below on which lesson from Grandma Akiko's frugal minimalism you feel you could apply to your life to face the current economic challenges, or share any saving practices or ingenuity you are already implementing. Write, "My wealth is sufficiency," if you feel inspired to embrace this path of conscious frugality and share your experiences with our community. Thank you so much for your presence, your attention, and your courageous willingness to seek true wealth in simplicity and wisdom. May you find peace and sufficiency and strength in your resourcefulness. Matane.